What's going on, y'all? Happy Wellness Wednesday. I'm super excited. I'm super pumped. I get the privilege of having Dr. V in the building with us inside the nurse wellness community. I'm so happy to have you, Dr. V. How are you doing? Thanks for making this happen.
I'm super excited to be here. I love you. You know I love you.
She really does, y'all. She made it happen. And so we have to take advantage, y'all. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping rules. This is our community of wellness. If you're joining us via YouTube, on Facebook, I just want to give a little welcoming in to those of you that may be new to the wellness tribe, the nurse wellness community. We're all about uplifting each other, learning and growing in this wellness journey. And that can be through mindset, self-care, nutrition, movement, spiritual growth, and so much, much more that make up the dynamic process of growth. This is the wellness way, the mind, body, and soul approach to maintaining our health and well-being. As healthcare healers, we need an extra dose of self-care and wellness. And if you feel me and you know how I feel, you have come to the right place. And I'm super excited because, what a great way to just start off our 1 year anniversary month. Like, we're literally 1 year in the game this month. So we are going to have some exciting events coming up. And I get to have Dr. V on the show to start off, to kick off our new season inside the nurse wellness community. Time flies when you're having fun. So, Dr. V, how are you? The CEO and founder of VP Nursing Leadership. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in nursing? What type of nursing got you into, got your feet wet in the beginning?
So I started nursing I really didn't want to be a nurse. So I wanted to be an engineer. And my mom said, well, we don't have enough money to send you to NC State. She had the forethought to understand that if I went to school and I accrued all that debt, then I would not have an amazing life. She had a forethought for that. And so I said, well, okay. I said, well, then I'll go to community college for 2 years and then I'll go. She was like, yeah, we're not going to have enough money at that time either. I'm going to need for you to decide something here. And I said, well, what am I going to do? And so she said, nursing. And I said, okay. And that's how I became a nurse. And so I became a nurse. When I first became a nurse, I didn't know you gave Tylenol for a fever. I knew nothing. And so what happened was I went through that process. It was a struggle. But lo and behold, here we are. And so the first place that I was at my own med-surg unit, and it was purely because I needed that. Like, some people it bores them, but I needed that. But then I went down to the emergency department one night, and let me tell you something. I just floated down there because they sent me down there. Nobody else wanted to go, right? And so I go down there, and I'm standing here, and it's this girl that comes in. She sits in the chair, and then all of a sudden she falls out the chair, and she is seizing. And I was like, and so the girl, and I was kind of stunned. And so the girl that was triaging, she was like, go get the stretcher. And I was like, okay. So I went and got the stretcher. We put on the stretcher, and we got on the stretcher. We took her clothes off, found out that she was pregnant, and we didn't know about it, right? Of course, because she had all this baggy clothes on, and apparently her mama didn't know either. And so the doctor came around, and the doctor said, so what's going on? And so sure enough, the mama was really, really upset. And the doctor was like, look, this is not about you. And I was like, these are my people. These are my people right here.
Give it to them real. This is not about you. You saw your people, and that was it.
That was it. I mean, for 15 years, I spent in the emergency department.
Wow. So, just going back to what you said earlier, when your mom told you, this is what you're going to do you think, you kind of gave in easy, or was it okay, yeah, sure. It was just something that came easy to you, even though you had your mindset on being an engineer? Why was it so easy to say yes?
I think it was so easy to say yes because I really feared being an engineer. I mean, there was a lot of math, and I went to student introduction to engineering, and it was a little bit difficult. So I really didn't see myself being an engineer, really. I wasn't 100%, right? And so it was, I was easily swayed. I just need another option, right? And that was the only option I had.
You
So
needed another way out. Like, oh, you know what? You're right, Mom. No, I get it. I get it. And then like you said like you did have some fear behind that. And sometimes it takes that person, that family member, that strong person to just be like, you know what, actually, I don't think that's gonna work, and just tell you the truth. I love that for sure.
yeah, she told me the truth and everything. It was a game changer after the end. So,
Yeah, and look at you now. What? And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But we just started off in the beginning. How did everything evolve? How did it become? So, in this nursing journey, being an ER nurse, I'm sure there were some struggles you may have faced. Being a new nurse, then growing in your career as well. What would you say are some of the like struggles that stick out to you about being a nurse, and how did you overcome them?
So I think one of the biggest struggles for me is that, so I am, if you've ever taken the DISC assessment, I'm a high D, small I. So what that means is that I'm all about getting it done. And so I was very much that nurse who wanted I wanted the door to dock times to be on point. I wanted no left without being seen. That's what I wanted. That's what I strive for every day. But what I did in the interim of that was that I strive for those numbers. But I think what we fail to understand, first of all, nurses have to have a certain amount of leadership experience, or they have to have that leadership instilled, like they have to have that portion of leadership instilled in them. And that's where I struggled. Okay. And so because I didn't have any leadership, like because I was an LPN for 10 years, as soon as I became an RN, then they thrust me into that leadership position. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't have any experience, right? I didn't know how it was to really understand how to take care of my people.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of my people, I took care of the numbers. And then when I took care of the numbers, what happened was they switched it on me. And so at first, the leadership was hiring me because they knew that I was good at what I did. But then it came peer review time. And when it came peer review time, I got demoted twice. And it was in those demotions. And see, a lot of people think that whenever they fail, they think that's failure. They're done, right? But the reality is that you either learn or you grow. One of the two, you succeed. One of the two. And so I learned in that. And what I learned was that I was not as good of a leader as I so thought I was. And so what I needed to do is I needed to understand how to become a better leader. So I started looking for leadership courses, and I ran across John Maxwell. And his first book that I read was The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And that book kind of changed my life. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I feel that I feel that healthcare is three parts. You have the patient, you have the nurse or the healthcare staff, and then you have the organization. And you have to really, really kind of try to balance all three parts of it, right? But in that, you have 100%. So 33% of that is the organization, 33% of that is the patient, 34% of that is the healthcare staff. Because at the end of the day, if you do not take care of your healthcare staff, if you do not take care of your staffing, then your patients won't be taken care of. They are the link between better patient care, quality care, patient satisfaction scores. They are the link. And so we have to understand that we have to nurture them, and they will nurture the patient.
100%. You said so much, and it was just like, oh, how do we break it down? But definitely going back to what you said about, like, what I hear you saying is like a lot of the things that you faced, or maybe some struggles that you faced, were like developing into this leader that maybe you went in one way thinking like, yeah, I got this, I'm a leader, well, they pushed me into it as an RN, right? They just made me. So yeah, like, I feel like a lot of us, when we do get in leadership roles, we that's how it is. We're voluntold. We're not really, volunteering. You just voluntold. And it's like, when you do make mistakes in those roles, like how do you handle yourself? How do you deal with your, how do you grow from that? And I just love hearing that, you took some courses, that you didn't really just like beat yourself up or anything like that, or try to like aim for perfection. You really came out trying to learn, trying to grow. And I think that's so important as nurses. I have to remember that on the daily. Like I'm growing right now. Like it's a process. I'm not going to be perfect. And I do want to be a leader. That's something that I strive for. But having that in the back of my mind, like, it's a process, I'm learning, and that I should find ways to learn and grow. And also what you said about taking care of the hospital staff, that's so important. And I think nurses realizing how much of an impact they have, we are leaders pretty much, and, our voices united is how change is going to happen. And I just think that's so important what you said, for sure.
And one of the things that, and it wasn't until, I don't know if you remember the senator from Washington, whenever she said that we were sitting around playing cards.
Yes.
You remember that?
Ooh.
I was hot. Okay. I was hot.
Oh.
And so when she came out with that, I remember the night before I went to bed, I shared it in my group, and I was just really upset about it. When I woke up the next morning, I was very surprised by the response, because most of the people on my timeline are healthcare professionals or nurses, right? Literally, it was lit up. Like everybody was upset, right? And so what I realized in that moment, it was a very, very eye-opening moment for me, because what I realized in that moment is that nurses, we're number one, we're the largest healthcare profession in healthcare. Number one, okay? We're the most well-respected. And this whole thing of us being burned out, like we can fix that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be in the conventional way of fixing it, right? And so what we think is that we have to always work for another organization in order to be able to fix it. But the reality is that we don't have to. And that's one of the things that, really changed my mind and really changed the trajectory of my life, and said, we can do this in a different way.
We have choices. Sure. That's what I love. Like, and it's been a big game changer for me. And I love that you bring up that senator. And then there was that lady, Miss America or Miss Universe, she had the doctor stethoscope. And that's how that stethoscope group got started. And when our voices come together, we have so much power. But then, like you said, like the burnout, the feelings of powerlessness, it still lingers. Like it still has a hold on us. And I feel like until we realize, like, hey, we have choices. We have choices. We could wake up one day and decide, like, I'm done with this. Like, I want to find a better way. And that's when that empowerment comes from. And I'm so for that, Dr. B. I just want us nurses to realize, like, our potential and not sleep on it. Like,
that's right.
But that is a great segue into what has changed your life. I love that. So what has motivated you to move forward in your nursing career and grow? I mean, of course, you were saying you were in the ER. Was there something pivotal that just like made you want to become Dr. V, the nurturer, the nurse nurturer? Did something happen? What kind of helped you pivot?
So I was actually in the emergency department, worked in the emergency department, and there was this kid that came in. So I always say I like to take care of the patients between the ages of 2 and 6, the kids, and the matriarchs and the patriarchs of their families, because before 2, they cry too much. After 6, they talk too much. Okay. You'll find out, you'll find out. I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to be a fly on the wall whenever this happens for you. Okay. Because you're like, Lord, Father God. Anyway, so it ended up trying to do that. So anyway, what happened was this kid came in between the ages of 2 and 6, and it was fatality due to gunfire. The next weekend, there was a kid that came in that was a fatality due to gunfire as well. That next weekend, it was it was just very calm. And then that next weekend was the kicker. It was a kid that came in that was a fatality due to gunfire, and there was a patriarch of his family that came in, and he had a disease process that had been lurking for a long amount of time. Actually, the kid was a fatality due to his play. He wasn't that third one was to for his play, and the patriarch of the family came in. The patriarch was very he just had the disease process. He just didn't know that he had it, right? And so the youngest person in one family and the oldest person in another family had passed away. And I remember walking out into the emergency department and looking across the emergency department and seeing people who were upset. They were upset because they were not first. And I remember thinking that not being first in the emergency department is a good thing. And I walked over to with the physician to tell the family of the kid that he had passed away, something that would change the trajectory of their lives. I remember walking out of that emergency department and literally head down broken and just crying. And I could not just grasp. I couldn't do anything else. And I walked to my truck. When I got to my truck, music is my therapy. And so I listened to, normally I listen to songs that are pretty slow. This particular night, I listened to a song by Kurt Franklin and Toby Mac, and it was Be Still and Know That I Am God. Now, there are some nurses who are not able to go back in. So I was able to go back in, but when I went back in, one of the other motivated factors was the fact that I just didn't have enough money just to quit working, right? And so I remember going to thinking that I was going to make a massive difference, with all these degrees, and it just didn't happen, in that manner. And so I started the Nurse Nurturer so that I could, just be effective in helping nurses with their, in 5 areas of their life, which is finance, fitness, spirituality, leadership, and family. And but what I realized is that the finance portion was a struggle for a lot of nurses. And so I really needed to help nurses understand how to make money without always having to, go into work somewhere, right? And so that's when I started the company, VP Nursing, which is to help nurses to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. Because the reality is that nurses have such an expertise, right? There are people who coach and consult who have not a degree at all. Okay. They don't, there's a guy there that he doesn't even he didn't even graduate high school, right? And he's good at what he does, don't get me wrong, right? But the reality is that he didn't graduate high school. And I'm not saying anything about people who didn't graduate high school, but what I am saying is that we have a level of expertise that we can leverage, that we can help other nurses out in this burnout field, that we can help other nurses. Like, why would I go to the bedside and take care of 6 patients when I can teach someone, when I can teach, the NCLEX review, right? Mm-hmm. And empower 100 nurses to go to the bedside, right? Why would I do that? So it's literally, and it's where you are in the game. You have the expertise. You have the knowledge. It is literally just setting up the systems and the strategies so that you win, period. Once you set up those systems and strategies, because I remember going to my kid having to, I would always have to take my kid somewhere because, at one point in time, I was a single parent and having to take him somewhere. And at 6, daycare is open from 8 to 5, or 7 to 7, right? And, trying to find places for him to be and for her to be, it was a super struggle. So I was like, I don't want nurses to have to do that. Yeah. I want to help them figure it out so that they can not only help themselves, but they can help other nurses as well.
Yeah. I love that story. I love how you shared, it was that one break in the system, kind of losing that patient. You said the oldest person and the youngest person of the family both passed away, and people were still complaining, why aren't we first? Why aren't we getting help? And it's a feeling like where am I? Am I really? It's like I know what you mean. It's like this out of body experience. It's kind of like, am I at, Marshall's? Like, am I in this? No, things are happening here that's serious. So I get that feeling to where it just breaks you down. Like, what am I doing anymore? It sounds like you got to that point. But you even shared that all the certifications and going back to school and things like that, you still didn't feel like you were making more of an impact. I'd like to talk more a little bit about that, like, especially for nurses that may be listening and think that they have to go back to school to make an impact, or, they have to have all the letters behind their names. Like, what is your take on that? Like, what do you?
I think that you have to be very intentional about the outcome, right? And so,
what works for you?
Right, what works for you, right? And it just didn't work for me. I thought that I was curious about this doctoral degree. Honestly, I just thought, well, let me just go and see. And now I learned a decent amount about leadership in my master's degree when I went back to get my master's. But when I went back to get my doctoral degree, and I mean, it was a good degree for me to say that, okay, you can do it. But the reality is that I don't feel like I didn't come out any smarter than when I went in. I didn't have doctor in front of my name. That's all. honestly.
It's hard for me to think that, you spend all that time and you feel like you didn't, come out any smarter. Like, it's hard for me to believe that.
The only thing that degree taught me was grit and tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
That is what that degree taught me more than anything. But as far as the actual coursework, it didn't teach me anything. I learned that in my master's degree. My master's degree was in leadership, and they teach you a lot of theory, and of course, whatever your final. So it's when you're getting your PhD, it's called a dissertation.
Yes.
Your DNP is called your DPI, which is Direct Patient Improvement Project, right? And so you learn, mine was on sepsis, right? So I learned a great deal about sepsis, right? But I mean, other than that, I really didn't learn a huge amount. But what it did teach me in this entrepreneur journey is that grit and tenacity. So it taught me that staying power, because it will test your every last nerve you got. It will test it.
I know that's right. And so if you're thinking about going back to school, going after these, all these degrees, what would you say to somebody that's maybe considering it right now and they're like, I don't know if it's the right thing for me? What would be some tips to help them kind of navigate that time? Like, a nurse that may be watching right now and she's like, I want to do my master's, I want to do my doctoral, but I'm not sure.
So I think that it's important for you to understand what your end goal is. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, what they don't understand is what their end goal is. So for me, my end goal, I didn't know what my end goal would be. Like, I thought that I was going to make a difference with my doctoral degree. And I just, I don't, honestly. And so understanding what your end goal is, my end goal has always been to, number one, make an impact in the nursing community. Okay. But number two, make money. It's always been the goal.
Yeah. Come on, let's be real. Come on.
Exactly. And the money, is not for me is literally so that my grandchildren will not have to, they will be
generational wealth.
Exact generational wealth, right? And so that is that is literally my drive. Like, when I see their little faces, all 6 of them. When I see their little faces, I'm like, yeah, you gonna have something, right?
Yeah.
But it is true that the impact that you can make outside of outside of, actually being inside of an organization and having nurses. Like I have one client, for example, like she teaches nephrology nurses, and she brings leadership to them, those types of things. One deals with her clients are chronic disease clients, right? Those that have dealt in domestic violence. And so it doesn't have to necessarily be inside the nursing community, but the goal ultimately is for it to be in the nursing community for sure.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, definitely thinking about your end goal. What is your why? Like, why are you getting into this? And definitely, like, okay, is it monetary? Yeah, like, let's be real, monetary, but does it last? Like, are you trying to really bring value? Are you really trying to help people? And I think as entrepreneurs, we can get lost in that, like, maybe like this motivation to just do it for the money. Like, I just want financial freedom, which is great, but also you have to want to help other people. What are you bringing? What is your service? What are you what are you doing? How are you making an impact? And I just love that you use that word impact, because that's what nurses do, like, so but yeah,
know it. And that's the thing too, is that they already know it. And it's such, when you work from your computer anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, it's such a low overhead. I mean, you have to have a computer. You have to have a computer. You have to have, a phone, right? You have to have your ring light. And then, it's just really such low overhead, and you're able to make that impact without being just bogged down,
constrained. Totally. Constrained. I hear you. We're gonna have to get together, Dr. B. I was there for the four-day challenge. I heard you loud and proud, honey. You were giving all the gems. I love it. So why do you think it's so powerful for nurses to start business, for nurses to take the leap and, like, say, a business or whatever endeavor that you may want to start? Why do you think it's so powerful?
I think it's so powerful for nurses because I think that nurses don't know their power. They don't know their power. Like, I didn't believe in myself initially, right? Like, when I went into my business coaching, thinking that there were no other nurses doing the thing that I was doing. And then I saw all the nurses doing the thing that I was doing. But the thing that separates you from the next person is your consistency. And that's what the doctoral degree taught me, right? And so nursing, when you're in nursing, the thing that is relevant is that you understand the difference between us and everybody else. Okay, this is the difference, is that we understand Maslow's hierarchy, right?
Yes, come on.
You can't do anything, okay, without your basic physiological being, right? And so when you have that foundation of that physiological being, then you can build up to that self-actualization, the highest form of yourself, right? But until you get that basic, and that's what we know. That's what we know like the back of our hands. Like, we don't even have to think about it. We teach it, we breathe it, we smell it. It's all over the place, right? We get it. And so because we get it, we can teach it to other people, like that spiritual foundation, that emotional foundation. I mean, all of that, we know that, right? And so bringing that to other nurses so that they can have the freedom that we already have, that's golden. And not just nurses, because there's people out in the community that need to know your knowledge. There are people out in the community who need to be. I mean, we spend 17, and I don't know if the statistics are still that, but we spend 17% of our gross domestic product on our own healthcare. Okay, so it means that we're the sickest country in the world. We spend more on healthcare than anybody does, right? And people are making bucks on people being sick. The goal is to change the trajectory of that, right? And I said, when I went to Lisa Nichols' conference, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the face of healthcare as we know it.
Yes. Come on, Dr. B. Yes.
So, I mean, the reality is that we want to make sure that we are changing the landscape Because when patients come into the emergency department, or whenever they come into wherever you come, whenever they come in wherever you at, right? If they have 10, 20 years of eating fatback meat, I mean, you know, I mean, we can.
They are out there.
I mean, you know, what we gonna do that? It's hard.
Yes, porque?
We really want to start them out at the beginning, right? Being very, very as healthy as they can be. We're always gonna have people who are sick. Always, always, always. It's not something that's gonna change. But we want to start them out as healthy as they can be so that they don't come in there snick as snot and you're not laboring over them.
Come on.
Trying to take care of them, right? You want to give them a good starting point. And in order to do that, we have to start from the beginning. We have to work proactively and not reactively, because I say all the time that we're not dealing in healthcare, we're dealing in sick care. The patients who come in, they're sick. Yeah. I look for them. Like I can, when you come to the emergency department, unless you have some type of mental health, right, issue, I can visually see you across that room assessment, right? And I'm like, something's wrong with her, right? Something's wrong with him, right? Because of that. And that's what we deal with. And that's what we deal in. And we just want to we want to make it better. We want to make it better for our nurses. We want to make it better for our communities. We want to make it better for everyone and anyone in this country. So.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. So many truths right there. Like we are so powerful. Going back to what you said about Maslow's hierarchy, we do that discernment process, like prioritizing, and we can look at patients and we're like, did you do this, this, and this? They can't breathe because of this, this, and that, you know, like, and we're able to break it down. And it's so crazy that sometimes we can't apply it in our own lives sometimes, and we can't do that own critical thinking in our own lives sometimes. What are the basic needs that I need right now, you know? And we're working so hard, like you said. The patients are sicker, the loads are sicker, but there's a reason. Sorry, it's raining really bad over here, so my signal is kind of in and out. But there's a reason, you know. There's things that we can do to change this healthcare field, this sick care field. You know, we don't have to just put our head down and just continue to work. You know, like you said, we can make a difference, and it's a big business company out here. Like they're meant to keep people in the system. And if we're exhausted, if we have horrible staff ratios, you know, there we can say no more. How are we going to be proactive versus reactive, right? How are we going to do that? And we have everything within us already. And I just love hearing that and being a part of that as a nurse. Like we have the tools within us. Now it's just how we put it to work. That may be the thing. And so I guess that can lead us into, you know, what you do and how you help nurses. You said a little bit about it as well, but, you know, for that nurse that may be like, okay, I want to use my skills for something else. How would you help them?
So basically what we do, and I think one of the things that I struggle with some people is that, you know, because I had a nurse and I was fairly surprised at her. She said to me, she said, I remember that you're not responsible for their outcomes. And I struggle with that, right? Because I'm not responsible for it, but I would not dare say it out of my mouth, right? And the reason why is because I do feel responsible for it, right? I feel responsible for pushing you off that cliff so that you can go swimming, okay? Because you're going to swim, all right? I feel responsible for that. And so anyway, so what I do is we just teach it from the entrepreneur standpoint, basically. So, and what I mean by that is that literally we take you, put you on video, do whatever you got to do. I mean, you know, and we give you the systems and the strategies, right? Not just because the reality is that all you need is the coaching, because what I do is coaching and consulting. Like if you want to start a CNA school, I'm not your girl. If you want to start a phlebotomy school, I'm not your girl. All I do is coaching and consulting for nurses specifically. Okay. There's riches in the niches, and that is what I niche. Okay. That's my niche, right? And the reason why is because I teach you the strategies, number one, which is, just the email marketing, the attracting the client, it's all encompassing how to get your business up and running so that it is an actual business.
It's a process.
It is a process, right? And so, and the process because you've been through it, right? And helping you to understand how to do the things so that you don't have to always be on all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have that evergreen product so that you can make money while you sleep. That's the whole goal, right? The whole goal is for you not to always be on.
Yeah.
For you to
work smarter, not harder, right?
Say that one more time. See, you my girl. I knew we was gonna be friends when I first met you. I was like, yeah, she's my girl. But yeah, those things, just teaching you the systems and the strategies to be able to not be on all the time, but also as well to make money. And so, and however that money is made, whether it be to consult for an organization, right? Or whether it be to coach, other nurses, other people in your community, however it is, it doesn't, the vision is yours. I just bring it to light. I just help you bring it to light, basically.
And sometimes you need that coach. You need somebody there that's going to be like, hey, you got this. Let's work it out. What is the problem? How can we, figure this out together? So I definitely believe in coaching for sure. Coaching, consulting, support, all that.
And it was funny because there was a guy that was on the show that because I was watching a YouTube video not too long ago. I think it was this morning. And he said that, and it was just surprising to me. But I'm gonna tell you, this guy is on his game because I subscribe to his stuff, and he is bossing it out. Like I want to buy something right now. Okay, let's be clear on that. I want to buy something. And I'm not that girl. But he said that what he does is he himself spends about $5,000 a month in coaching himself. Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you have to develop, and this is one thing that we don't do as well either, is that we develop our healthcare staff. You have to have that staff development.
Yes.
Huge, right? And so he said that he spends about $5,000, him and his team, $5,000 a month on staff development. I was like, wow.
And it pays off.
It does.
It has a big return investment.
That's right.
Whether you're investing in yourself, with therapy, with a coach, personal training, buying a book, whatever it is, a course, whatever it is, it has a great return, and we should invest in ourselves. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's been so good talking to you. One more question before we head off. What is one wellness way, one of your healthy hacks that help you just stay whole body, mind, and soul healthy? For maybe us nurses out there or entrepreneurs, how do you keep healthy? And I'd love to hear.
So one of the things that I do in the mornings is I'm very intentional about this, and it's just a habit. John Maxwell says you have to change a habit. You have to change a habit that you do every day in order to change your life. And so I get up at 4 a.m. every morning, and literally this is the routine. I get, and you can ask my husband because he's like, "You didn't get up early this morning?" Because there was one morning last week I didn't do it, but that's because I was just tired. So I get up. Put my feet on the floor. I go and give me some coffee because I can't function without coffee. I put on my compression socks. I come upstairs. I read a proverb a day. I pray. If I feel like journaling, I'll journal. If I feel like meditating, I'll meditate. I get on the treadmill. I do 2 miles every day except for Sunday, pretty much. Every now and then I won't have that. And then I do some type of strength exercise. And then I ensure there's a place that's here. It's called Juicetopia. I probably stop by there about twice a day, honestly. And and usually their smoothies are my breakfast. And then I go by there and get a smoothie for lunch. I'm a firm believer that what you put in your body is super, super important. If you're going to garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Very
Dark fuel.
So, but I do want to say about my program. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Go for it. Yeah.
So we have the 6-month coaching program. It's going to start in July. The last day to sign up is July 1st. But it is a coaching program to the only complaint I have gotten from my 12, because it was 12 weeks initially, but the only complaint that I've gotten from the 12-week program is that it wasn't long enough. That's the only complaint that I've gotten from it. And so I know that it is valuable. I know that it brings fire. I know that because everybody in the coaching program has their own business established. Everybody. Now, one lady, she has 8 streams of income. Like literally, she started with me in January. And she did a 12-week program. She has 8 streams of income, and then one has a 6-figure contract. So it has been amazing. It has been
wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk after this. Yes, I thought I missed out on the deadline. Yes, I'm investing in myself, and so should y'all, every single one of you, whether it be a coach, whether it be just in a morning routine like Dr. V was sharing with us. Invest in yourself today, and that's what the Wellness Wednesday is all about. I just loved chatting with you. We're gonna have to do this again.
That's right.
Sure. We didn't even get into spiritual growth and how that affects you as an entrepreneur, as a nurse. You shared a little bit, but I love talking about my faith and everything like that. So maybe we'll hop on a Clubhouse or something. I'd love that.
Hey, that's right. Anytime. I love moderating now.
Yes.
Pull me in. We'll work that out for sure.
I would love that. Dr. V, it's been a pleasure. Where can we find you? What is your YouTube link or your website? How can we find you? Where do you hang out?
So I am my domain. So my website is VP Nursing, V as in Victor, P as in Paul, nursing.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at vpnursing.com. You can find me on YouTube at The Nurse Nurturer. And then, of course, LinkedIn, VP Nursing or Viola Pierce. And then Twitter, you can find me at, I want to say that's The Nurse Nurturer as well. I can't even remember because I don't even log into Twitter half the time.
Twitter. I don't know. I don't have a Twitter, so I'm behind.
I don't think you're behind. I think you're ahead, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where you can find me. But on my website is pretty much where you'll see me. And of course on Facebook, I am at Viola Pierce, Coppage Pierce, Coppage. And you can find all of our content and everything. And we have a good time.
Yes, they do. I love it. And she filmed our video today, our live today. Thank you to Dr. V for hooking it up because we were having some technical difficulties, but we got it together. She was so patient. She was so kind. Please go like, follow, support all of her content, and we'll see you next time. Happy Wellness Wednesday, y'all. Take care. Bye.